Welcome to Vivid Verses. If our words resonate with you, please subscribe, tap the like, and share your thoughts and your feelings in the comments. Now let's begin. The conversation happened on a Tuesday, which was fitting because Tuesday is inventory day. My head was already full of numbers, variance reports on the Wagyu strip loins, the rising cost of imported butter, and the labor percentages for the upcoming quarter when I walked through the door of our apartment. The atmosphere in the living room was calibrated for a serious discussion. The lights were dimmed, the television was off, and Vanessa was seated at the kitchen island with her laptop open, a notebook aligned perfectly with the edge of the granite, and a glass of red wine she hadn't touched. It looked less like a greeting and more like a performance review. She told me to sit down. She didn't ask about the service or the kitchen. She opened with a preamble about alignment, scaling our future, and risk management. I recognized the vocabulary immediately. She had been listening to those dating strategy podcasts again, the ones that treat relationships like venture capital investments and partners like assets to be leveraged. She talked about her biological clock, which I respected as a factual logistical constraint, but then she pivoted to her lifestyle requirements. Then came the ultimatum. It was a strict timeline. She wanted to be married in 2 years, own a specific caliber of home in the city in 3, and have the option to exit the workforce entirely when children arrived. She had run the numbers. For her model to work, combined with her current salary as a marketing manager, my financial contribution needed to hit the mid-six figures. "I need you to triple your salary, Caleb," she said. Her voice was steady, rehearsed. "Or you need to show me a concrete, executable plan to get there within 6 months. Executive chef at a hotel group, a corporate consulting gig, or opening your own concept with investors already lined up. I don't date potential anymore. I date results." I looked at her. Then at the apartment, we split 50-50. I did the math in my head. I am a sous-chef at Leadenhall. It's a serious kitchen. We do legitimate volume, high technique, rigorous standards. I make $62,000 a year base, maybe $70,000 with overtime. I have health insurance and a 401k I barely contribute to because the rent in this city is predatory. To triple my salary, I would need to pull in $210,000. Executive chefs in this city, unless they are celebrities or corporate officers from massive hotel chains, do not make $210,000. Even the guys running the Michelin-starred spots, the ones getting the James Beard nods, are often grinding for $90,000 or $100,000 plus a small percentage of profit, if the place even makes a profit. The restaurant industry is a low-margin business. The only way to hit her number was to leave the industry entirely or become a grifter selling mastery courses on the internet. I love cooking. I love the logistics of the line. I love the pressure of a Saturday night service when the printer is spitting tickets and the system is on the verge of collapse. But we hold it together through pure discipline and drilled repetition. It's a tangible, honest trade. You cook the food, they eat the food, they pay. Vanessa was asking me to trade a tangible reality for a speculative fantasy. "No," I said. She paused, her pen hovering over her notebook. "No what?" "No, I can't do that. The math doesn't work. I'm a sous chef. I'm good at it. I'm on track to be a chef de cuisine in 2 years, maybe making $85,000. That's the reality of the market I'm in." "So you have no ambition?" Her voice went sharp. This was the objection handling portion of the script. "I have plenty of ambition. It just doesn't pay what you require." I stood up. I didn't feel angry. I felt a strange clarity, the kind you get when you realize a sauce is broken and there's no saving it, only tossing it and starting over. "You have a price point, Vanessa. I can't afford you. If those are the terms, the deal is off." She was stunned. She expected negotiation. She expected me to fight for the privilege of being with her, to promise hustle, to leverage my future to secure her present. She wanted me to validate her market value by destroying myself to meet it. When I went to the bedroom and started packing a bag, she didn't stop me. She sat there, angry, convinced she was making the smart, high-value play. I moved into a studio apartment 3 blocks from the restaurant 2 days later. It was small, the radiator clanked, and the view was a brick wall, but the rent was 40% less than my share of our old place. The first few weeks were a study in overhead reduction. When you live with a partner who monetizes anxiety, you don't realize how much mental energy is bled out in damage control until the leak is plugged. Vanessa required maintenance. She needed validation for her job stress. She needed me to plan dates that were content-worthy, and she needed constant reassurance that we were advancing towards some vague socioeconomic peak. Alone, my life became a closed loop of efficiency. My utilities were lower. I didn't have to explain why I smelled like onions and seared meat at 1 a.m. I didn't have to apologize for sleeping until noon on my days off. I threw myself into Leadenhall. We had a new menu launching in 6 weeks, and usually I'd be rushing out the door after my shift to get home to Vanessa. Now I stayed. I broke down the food costs on the new duck dish, analyzing the yield on the carcasses to see if we could get a better margin on the stock. I reorganized the walk-in cooler to shave 5 minutes off the prep team's morning routine. My executive chef, Marcus, noticed. Marcus is a man of few words, mostly grunts and knife gestures. He evaluates people based on their output, not their potential. 2 weeks after the breakup, he pulled me aside after a heavy Friday service where we did 200 covers without a single refire. "Your station is cleaner," he said. "Your pass is tighter. You stopping drinking?" "Stop dating," I said. He nodded. "Cheaper. Keeps the head clear." That was the extent of the emotional counseling. But the next week, he gave me the lead on the vendor orders. It meant more responsibility, no extra pay yet, but it put me in control of the ingredients. I started talking to the farmers and the fishmongers directly. I wasn't doing it to get rich. I was doing it because I had nowhere else to be, and I wanted the product to be better. I found a discrepancy in the shellfish invoicing that had been costing the restaurant $200 a week. I fixed it. Meanwhile, information about Vanessa filtered back to me through the grapevine. We have mutual friends, mostly couples we used to do dinners with who are now awkwardly navigating the split. Jenna, a friend of Vanessa's, came into the restaurant for dinner during week 4. I sent out a complimentary appetizer, a scallop crudo with chili oil, because it's good business to maintain goodwill. She came back to the kitchen pass to say thanks. "How's Vanessa?" I asked. I was plating a halibut, focused on the placement of the fennel fronds. "She's busy," Jenna said. She looked uncomfortable, shifting her weight. "She's meeting a lot of successful guys." "Good. That's what she wanted." "Yeah, it's just the culture is different." I knew what that meant. Vanessa was 29. She was attractive, smart, and driven. But she was entering a market where the men she targeted, the ones making the $300,000 or $400,000 she demanded, had all the leverage. They didn't need a partner to build a life with. They already had the life. They wanted an accessory, or they wanted something casual. Vanessa wanted a merger. They wanted a subscription service. Jenna told me about a guy Vanessa dated for 3 weeks. A hedge fund guy. He took her to expensive dinners, sure, but he would cancel an hour before or text her at midnight to come over. He didn't respect her time because his time was billed at $1,000 an hour and hers wasn't. When she tried to set boundaries, the same strict boundaries she'd set with me, he just ghosted her. He replaced her the next week with someone younger who asked fewer questions. She was learning that results work both ways, and the market for high-earning men is brutally competitive. Kitchen work is physical. It's repetitive. It keeps you honest. If you don't cut the carrots the same size, They don't cook at the same rate, and the dish fails. There is no negotiating with a carrot. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan. I found a rhythm in that honesty. I'd wake up, go to the gym to reinforce my back for the 12-hour shifts, go to work, prep, serve, clean, go home. I started saving money. Ironically, without Vanessa's requirements for vacations and experiences, I had disposable income. I bought a better knife, a custom Japanese judo that held an edge for weeks. I bought new non-slip boots. I started cooking for myself at home on Mondays, my day off. Simple stuff. Roasts, braises, things that take time. The silence in my apartment wasn't lonely. It was functional. It was the silence of a well-organized mise en place. Around month 3, we lost a line cook. He walked out mid-shift because he couldn't handle the heat on the sauté station. It happens. I jumped on the line. I haven't worked the sauté station consistently in a year. Usually, I'm expediting or handling the pass. It felt good. The heat, the noise, the immediate feedback loop of the pan. I crushed the service. The timings were perfect. Marcus called me into the office afterward. The office is a closet with a desk, smelling of stale coffee and dry erase markers. "I'm moving you to chef de cuisine," he said. I looked at him. "We have a CDC. Tony is moving to Chicago. His wife got transferred. It's yours if you want it. $82,000. Plus performance bonuses based on food cost." It wasn't $210,000. It wasn't even 6 figures. But it was a 20% raise, and it was my kitchen to run. I would be writing the schedules, designing the specials, and hiring the staff. "I'll take it," I said. "Good. Fix the fish cost. We're bleeding on the branzino." That night, I went to a dive bar near the restaurant to celebrate. Just a beer and a burger. The bartender, an older guy named Sal, knew me. "You look lighter," Caleb, he said. "Got promoted," I said. "That's good. Girl happy?" "No girl. Just the work." "Even better," Sal said. "Less noise." I realized I hadn't thought about the ultimatum in days. The anxiety of not being enough was gone. I was exactly enough for the job I had. The metrics were clear. The plates came back clean. The food cost was down. I was winning the game. I chose to play. Then I met Audrey. It happened in the walk-in cooler. She wasn't a waitress or a customer. She worked for our produce supplier. Usually, the delivery drivers just drop the crates and leave, but there was a mix-up with the microgreens. We ordered amaranth. They sent cilantro. I was back there checking the invoice, annoyed, ready to call the rep and yell. She walked in, wearing a heavy coat and holding a clipboard. "You're short on the amaranth," she said before I could speak. "I know. The frost killed the crop in intense, localized patches upstate. I have sorrel instead. It's got the same acid profile, different look, better durability." I looked at the invoice, then at her. She wasn't trying to charm me. She was solving a logistics problem. She spoke my language. "Sorrel works," I said, "but I need a discount because I have to reprint the menu inserts. I could do 10%. 15. She looked me in the eye. She didn't flinch. "Done. Sign here." We started talking, not about future goals or salary trajectories. We talked about supply chains. We talked about how hard it is to get good heirloom tomatoes in October. She loved food. She didn't cook it professionally, but she understood the soil, the farmers, the labor. She respected the ingredient. She asked me if I wanted to go to a tasting event a few days later. A cider house was opening. "I work nights," I said. "I know," she said. "This is on a Monday. Industry night." She understood the schedule. That was the first green flag. We went. It was low stakes. We ate tacos from a truck and drank dry cider. We talked about work. She was passionate about sustainable agriculture. She made $55,000 a year and was perfectly happy because she owned her house, inherited from a grandmother, a stroke of luck she acknowledged readily, and she loved her job. She didn't ask me what my 5-year plan was. She asked me how I made the stock for the risotto, listening intently to the process of roasting the bones and skimming the fat. Meanwhile, the update on Vanessa was getting grim. She had downgraded her search parameters. The rich guys were burning her out. One guy had told her to her face that she was too demanding for someone who isn't 23. Brutal. Unfair, absolutely. But that's the market she entered voluntarily. She had treated me like a commodity, a yield-bearing asset, and now she was shocked that men with actual capital were treating her like a commodity. She was starting to date potential, again, junior lawyers, guys in sales. But now she was bitter. She was bringing that resentment into the dates. She was comparing them to the phantom millionaire she felt she deserved, and they could smell it. Men know when they're being interviewed for a job they didn't apply for. I was at Audrey's place on a Sunday afternoon. It was a small bungalow, cluttered with plants and books. We were cooking dinner. Nothing fancy, just roast chicken and root vegetables. I was chopping onions. She came up behind me and put her hand on my back. "You have nice hands," she said. "They're covered in scars and callus," I said. "I burned this thumb on a sauté pan last week." "I know. Useful hands." It hit me then. Vanessa wanted a man whose hands looked like they held a fountain pen and signed checks. Audrey liked that my hands looked like they could fix a sink or break down a chicken. We ate on the porch. We split a bottle of wine that cost $12. We laughed about a delivery driver who dropped a crate of melons. It was easy. There was no performance. I didn't feel like I was being audited. I felt like I was hanging out with a partner. 2 days later, I got the text. "Vanessa, hey, I saw you got the CDC spot. Congratulations." I waited 4 hours to reply. Not as a game. I was just busy running the pass, ensuring the risottos were leaving the kitchen with the right consistency. "Me, thanks. Vanessa, we should catch up. Get coffee? I'd love to hear how you're doing." I looked at the phone. I knew what this was. The market had corrected. She had realized that a loyal, hard-working man who makes $80,000 and treats you well is actually a scarce resource. She had overplayed her hand, and now she wanted to see if her safety net was still there. I didn't want to be cruel, but I didn't want to be a safety net. Me, I'm pretty slammed with a new role. But thanks for reaching out. She didn't take the hint. "Vanessa, come on. 20 minutes. I miss our talks." I sighed. The old me would have caved. The old me would have thought, maybe she sees my value now. But the new me knew that if she only saw my value because the other options failed, it wasn't real value. It was desperation. Still, I needed to close the file. I agreed to meet her for coffee on a Tuesday morning. Neutral ground. She looked great. Styled, polished. But she looked tired around the eyes. The anxiety was back, vibrating under the surface. We sat down. She ordered a skim latte. I got a black coffee. "You look good, Caleb," she said. Focused. "Jenna says the food at Leadenhall is better than ever." I am. The job is good. We're doing good numbers. She steered the conversation. She talked about how exhausting the dating scene was. How superficial everyone was. How she missed the authenticity we had. She was rewriting history, erasing the ultimatum and the spreadsheets. "I was thinking," she said, tracing the rim of her cup. "Maybe we were too hasty. I put too much pressure on the financial side. I've realized that money isn't everything. Connection matters more." I've grown. She waited. This was the moment. The apology. The retraction of the ultimatum. She was offering me the position back under new terms. I took a sip of coffee. "I agree, Vanessa. Connection matters most." "So," she smiled, a little tentative hope lighting up her face. "Maybe we could try again? A clean slate?" I set the cup down. "No." Her face dropped. "Why? You just said—" I said I agree with the principle. "But we don't have a connection anymore. You gave me a transactional ultimatum. You told me I wasn't enough unless I hit a number. I didn't hit the number, Vanessa. I got a raise, but I'm not making $200,000. I'm still the same guy you walked away from. The only difference is that you couldn't find a buyer at the price you said. But I'm saying it doesn't matter now. It matters to me, I said, because you didn't leave because we stopped loving each other. You left because you thought you could do better. And you're only back because you found out you couldn't. That's not love. That's a fallback plan. I'm not an option you keep in the pantry in case the main ingredient is out of stock. She went quiet. She knew it was true. She tried to rally, to find a flaw in my logic. Is there someone else? That's not the point, I said. But yes, I'm seeing someone. Does she make 6 figures? The bitterness leaked out, sharp and acidic. No, she works in produce. She makes less than I do. Vanessa looked baffled. So you're settling? After I pushed you to be better? You're going backward. I'm not settling, I said. I stood up. I checked my watch. I had a delivery coming in 30 minutes. Sorrel and heirloom carrots. I'm happy. She likes me for who I am, not for what I might turn into if she pushes hard enough. That's the opposite of settling. That's success. I put a $10 bill on the table for the coffee. Good luck, Vanessa. I hope you find what you're looking for. But it's not me. I walked out. I didn't look back. I walked 3 blocks to the restaurant, went through the back door, and tied on my apron. The kitchen was quiet. The prep cooks were chopping. The stock was simmering. It smelled like mirepoix and roasting bones. I checked the prep list. I sharpened my knife. I had work to do. Thank you for listening. That brings today's story to a close. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. See you next time.